In the next point, we are going to learn about the sons of Maharashtra. The spread of Bhakti movement in Maharashtra developed in spirit of oneness among the Marathas. The main teachings of the leaders were Bhakti and equality of all before God without any destination of class or birth. The Bhakti movement united the people of Maharashtra in common love of man and faith in one God. Some of the important leaders were Gyaneshwar, Namdev, Eknath, and Tukaram. Let's go in detail about these sons of Maharashtra. During 13th to 17th century, these sons poets inspired people by their simple Marathi songs. Not only men but women like Sakubai and the family of Chokhamela who belonged to low caste is also inspired people. Mainly people belonging to untouchables or lower caste actively participated in Bhakti movement. Janeshwar, Namdev, Eknath and Tukaram were the devotees of Lord Vithala. Devotion around Lord Vithala gave rise to the Varkari sect. Followers of Varkari sect go to Pandharpur every year to worship Lord Vithala. It also focused on the notion that God resides in the hearts of the people. These son poets rejected all the forms of ritualism and social differences based on the birth. These son poets did not believe in leaving the world but preferred to live with their families. They earned their livelihood like any other person and serving others in their need. With them, a new idea of bhakti emerged, that bhakti lay in sharing of pain of others. A famous Gujarati sant, Narsi Mehta, said that they are Vaishnavas who understand the pains of others. So let's students, we will revise those points once again. The Bhakti movement united the people of Maharashtra in common love of man and faith in one God. Some of the important leaders were Janeshwar, Namdev, Eknath and Tukaram. Not only men but women like Sakubai and the family of Shokamela also inspired people. The regional traditional form of bhakti focused on the Vithala. For example, from a Vishnu, later followers of Vithala formed Varkari sect. Every year they organize Pandharpur Yatra to offer prayer to Lord Vithala. These saint poets rejected all forms of ritualism, outward display of piety, and preferred to a life with their families. They believed in the idea of sharing the pain and considered it as bhakti. So I hope students you understood about the Sant of Maharashtra. Now we will turn towards the explanation of Nathapanthis, Siddhas and Yogis. In the medieval period, there were religious groups who did not believe in the meaningless rituals. They criticized the religious practices and social order by logical arguments. Among such groups were Nathpanthis, Siddhacharas and Yogis. Nathpanthis, Siddhacharas and Yogis believed in spiritual perfection. They believed in God but did not worship it in temples. They thought that you cannot find God while living at home and having a normal life. Nathpanthis, Siddhas, and yogis completely believed in the rejection of world. They believed that the path of salvation is meditation. They also believed that ultimate reality is formless and one should feel connection with it. In order to achieve these, they believed in intense training of the mind and body. They trained mind and body through the yogasanas, breathing exercise, and meditations. By their views, these religious groups became popular among the low caste. मतलब इन सारी विचारों की वजह से जो लो कास्ट के लोग हैं इनमें ये नाथपंथी सिद्धास और योगीज बहुत प्रचलित हो गए. Their criticism to existing religion made them a popular force in the northern India. So let's students, we will revise once again those points. Nathpanthis, Siddhas and Yogis criticized their rituals and other aspects of social order using simple logical arguments. They thought that you cannot find God while living at home and having a normal life. Nathpanthis, Siddhas and Yogis completely believed in the rejection of the world. They believed that path to salvation is meditation. They also believed that ultimate reality is formless and one should feel connection with it. They trained mind and body through yogasanas, breathing exercise, meditations. By their ideology, they became popular among lower castes and gained popularity in North India. So I hope students you understood about the Nathpanthis, Siddhas and Yogis. In the next point we are going to learn about Islam and Sufism. Islam is the second largest religion in the world after the Christianity, with about 1.8 billion Muslims worldwide. Scholars date the creation of Islam to the 7th century, making it the youngest of the world religions. Today, the faith is spreading rapidly throughout the world. The religious scholars of Islam developed in ideology called Sufism. Sufis believed in the compassion, love, prayers as a medium to reach the God. Sufis and sons were the common, and it is believed that they adopted each other's idea. The Sufis did not believe in the outer religious feelings and supported love and devotion to the God. They totally believed in the kindness towards all living beings. मतलब इन सूफी लोगों का मानना था कि जो भी लिविंग बीइंग्स है उनकी तरफ क्या होना चाहिए, हमारी अच्छी भावना होनी चाहिए, काइंडनेस होना चाहिए. On the other hand, Islam strongly supported the devotion towards a single God. Students, you know that in the Hindu peoples there are many gods, but in the Muslim peoples there is only one God. It is Allah. During the 8th and 9th centuries, religious scholars developed different aspects of Shariat, law and theology of Islam. Shariat is a code of living for Muslim related to praying, marriage, fasting and others. This made Islam a more complex religion, but Sufis gave another view. For the personal devotion of God. The Sufis didn't believe in the rituals and codes of behavior made by the religious scholars. The Sufis expressed their feelings towards God through their poems. Some of the great Sufis of Central Asia were Ghazali, Rumi, and Sadi. Like the Nathpanthis, Siddhas, and Yogis, they too believed that the heart can be trained to look at the world in the different way. They developed different methods of training like zikr, sama, raqs, etc. in the guidance of the master or peer. This led to the beginning of Sufi teachers, each following a different method of ritual practice. In India, a large number of Sufi sons settled during the rule of Delhi Sultanate. The Chishti Silsila was the most influential order of Sufism in India. Some of the Chishti teachers were Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti, Qutubuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki, Baba Farid of Punjab, etc. The Sufi masters organized their assemblies in their khanqahs. There they discussed spiritual matters, sought the blessings of the sons, or simply attended music and dance sessions. Other people believe that Sufi sons have powers to cure their illness and troubles. Due to this, the tomb of Sufi Sant became a place of pilgrimage center. इसकी वजह से सूफी लोगों के जो मंदिर हैं वो क्या बन गए, एक तीर्थ क्षेत्र बन गए. So let students, we will revise those points once again. The Muslim who used compassion, love and prayer as a medium to be united with God were Sufis. The Sufis did not believe in outer religious feelings and supported love and devotion to the God. On the other hand, Islam strongly supported the devotion towards a single God. The Sufis didn't believe in the rituals and codes of behavior made by the religious scholars. They developed different methods of training like zikr, sama, raqs, etc. under the guidance of the master or peer. The Chishti Silsila was the most influential order in China. The Sufi master organized their assemblies in their khanqahs. People believed that Sufi sons had powers to cure their illness and troubles. Due to this, tomb of Sufi Sant became a place of pilgrimage center. So I hope students, now you understood about all the things of Islam and Sufism.